Well, hello boys, girls, and undecideds everywhere. We have a guitar case here. It looks like it's in gator leather, but it's probably gator plastic, whatever. And from what I understand, this is the original case for the guitar, meaning it's just as old as the guitar. And what is the guitar? The guitar is a 1960 Gibson Les Paul Junior in cherry finish with a P90 pickup. Yay! And we have a guitar strap in here that may very well be just as old as the guitar. It says, what does that say? Something Sons. Maybe somebody will recognize that logo. I can't read it. That doesn't really matter to me as much. I'm not tremendously excited about that. And then we've got some vintage strings, which I guess is what's on it, 10s. How old is that Fender packaging? I don't know. Anyway, this guitar came to me with, and this is a real Gibson, this is the Gibson case. It even says Gibson on it. And then there's a cable in there that looks a little newer. But we will be cleaning this up. This came in for just an exam from somebody who got it when they were a youngster and played for a while and kind of put it in the closet and didn't think about it much, and then they heard about the Sound Lab over here and all the cool stuff we have around here and said, hey, why don't you take a look at my guitar? So as far as visual inspection goes, we got a little bit of a finish nick chip over here, rub mark from the case, and then there's a matching one over here, probably also from the case, and then we've got the usual grunge that builds up on the metal. I checked the neck out. We got some chipping on the finish here, and chipping on the lacquer, and it looks like when they shot the cherry, they kind of, I'm sorry, you can't see that in the camera. It looks like when they shot the cherry here on the finish, they were kind of lazy and just sprayed right over the dots. But anyway, what we're going to do is we're going to clean this up. As far as the neck goes, it only needs a little bit of a turn on the truss rod, maybe a half a turn or so. This has the tortoiseshell pick guard. Yeah, so it was, you know, I figured I pulled it out of the case and played it because nobody had played it in many, many years, and it sounded fine. The pots are grubby, so I had to kind of fight with them a little bit. So we're going to go in there and clean those, but they seem to be working. They just need to be cleaned. And the machine heads back there are, you know, Clusons with the plastic buttons, and they work fine. They're also a little grubby and sticky, so we'll maybe put a little lubricant on them and just clean it up. But essentially, I'm just going to take the strings off, give it a bath, and you know, clean off the frets. The frets are kind of grungy, but they're not like horribly nasty. So we'll probably just take a polish cloth and just some nice, the same stuff we use the Gibson fretboard conditioner. If you just give that a good rub, it usually rub the crud off with it. So we're going to tune it up and see how it sounds. I'm doing this one kind of as a favor. The owner is considering selling it, and I may be in the running for that. So I mean, I'd like to be. I think this is a really cool guitar. I've looked at what these normally go for, and it looks like this might be a King's Ransom, but a King's Ransom is out of my price range. But you know, hey, maybe we'll get some kind of special consideration. No major concerns here. I think I might have to bring that bridge back a little bit farther just to get it to intonate correctly, but should be okay to work. Okay, so I just got a phone call from a friend of mine who is a much better luthier than I am, because I'm not really a luthier. I qualify as a general repair guy for these kind of things, but we actually talked about this guitar briefly, and it is definitely valuable as a vintage collector's piece. This is just the standard stock Gibson fretboard conditioner, and we're going to use this as a cleaner and lubricant. It seems to work pretty good. We can get in there and just really try to get into the corners and see. If there's really a lot of shmoo and it's not coming off well, then we'll actually break out the grubby cleaner, but most of this just appears to be ordinary boring dust. Yeah, it's coming right off, so we're all good. Just polish this all down and get all the crud off and get it nice and clean, and then we'll move on to the body of the guitar. Okay, that appears to have cleaned up pretty nicely. The frets have enough of a shine to them, they don't feel gritty, and most of the schmutz that was existing on the fretboard, which again was not much, it's mostly just dust, that's good. So we're going to move on to the body, just get a fresh side to our rag. The finish is still in pretty darn good shape. We have a couple of scuffs over here and whatnot. Oh good, and children are home upstairs. I can hear them stomping around. So again, just to be sure we're safe on nitrocellulose lacquer, we're going to use the Gibson stuff. Why do you use the Gibson stuff? Why don't you use some super mega brand or brand X or brand Y? It's better. My friend's a Gibson dealer. I get a good price. So we'll just polish and rub all the shmoo away and come back in a little bit. Okay, so we wiped the dirt off the front, the back, and the neck. Now we're going to deal with the controls here. Think about it, I'm the first person to go in this thing, probably since it was new. What? There we go. Oh boy. Guitar enthusiasts are going to go bananas. What is that? It's a bumblebee cap. Oh! Tube amp enthusiasts are groaning, going, oh my gosh, get those out of my stupid tube amp. They blow up, they explode, they fail, they're garbage. But in these guitar circuits, guitar guys love the old bumblebee. So there's actually a real original bumblebee. What do you know? I'm going to bet it's probably fine. Not because it's a bumblebee, but because these things don't deal with doodly squat for voltage, so they just don't take any abuse. But the pots are definitely grubby. So we're going to spray our little magic sauce in the pots here. Alright. And then we'll turn our knobs a whole bunch of times back and forth until they loosen up, feel better, and hopefully quit making cracky noises. That's already feeling way better right now. I might spray a little bit more in that one. That tone one feels eons better. And just for the record, I know Deoxit is very popular and I can understand why, but we use Max Pro Electronics lubricant. It's a cleaner lubricant made by Max Pro, and I have had very good results with it. I'm going to put just a smidge more in this one. Here. And these controls were very crackly. That's feeling much better. So I guess now it's just time to clean the crud off of the bridge, and then we'll put some strings on it and double check its intonation as best as you can. And when I say as best you can, you'll understand what I'm talking about. But that finish has actually got some pretty good shine on it, doesn't it? You can see my ugly quilt there. That's a pretty good condition, considering how long this has been kind of a abandoned guitar. We're resurrecting it, if we will. Alright, cool. Let's clean the gunk off the bridge here. It's kind of grubby, but other than that it should work. And before I go in here, I'm going to make sure that I can turn those, in case I have to. Oh, lucky for me, they both turn just fine with my Allen key. So, two good news is I had an Allen key handy that was the right size, and number two, it actually works. So if I recall, the neck needed to be straightened just a little bit. So we'll do that little truss rod adjustment prior to stringing it up, and then if we have to, we'll come back and adjust it. But the looks of things, I might be the first one in here too. You just need a little cap wrench like that, like we typically use on Gibsons. And that is the right cap wrench, and we'll just tighten it a little bit. I think that's all it's going to need. Not much more than that. And that's just a guesstimate based on feel. And I'll wait and leave that cap off until we get some strings on it, and then we'll double check it and make sure. Alright, cool. Put it back together. Okay, so it had 10s on it before, and I'm good with 10s, so I'm going to put 10s on it. These are the Web Strings 10s. And because of the nature of this bridge, we'll basically do the outside first and then work our way in. This is not rocket surgery. Alright, so here's our biggest, fattest E string. And they wound them together to the point that I can't get them to come apart, and then they both come apart together. Thanks for that, guys. And this has the wraparound bridge, so we'll make sure it wraps around. There, pull it through, wrap around, and come up over here, go through the peg, and turn the peg knob. This is really exciting stuff here. As far as stringing these things, I don't do anything weird. I don't tie these in a knot or anything like that. I just wind them around the post and try to make sure I have enough winds that it holds on properly, and call that good. With these type of tuners, as long as it's going from the top down and there's enough winds around the peg, it's fine. And I can already tell you right now that is not going to be quite enough winds around the peg, so push a little bit more material through here. Make sure we have 2 winds around the peg. Sounds like the police are upstairs, and that's actually a child's toy with a siren on it. Fun! This is why I like the basement lair. It's quieter down here, even with all the banging. You can probably hear what's going on upstairs. And that's... Okay, so that string's on, and I've got the satisfactory amount of wraps around the post to make me happy. And we'll give that a little stretch in. And I'll have to do that a few times, probably, to get her all situated in. Alright, so 1 string down, and then we'll go for the high string. And we'll have to go get a stroboscope, right? Because we got to make sure that this is intonated as best as possible. And I don't care who it is on YouTube. Dave at Dave's World of Fun Stuff has it right. I don't know about everybody else, but if you're not intonating with the stroboscope, you're doing it wrong. Just trust me. If you're not intonating with the stroboscope, you are doing it wrong. And don't get mad at me. I'm not trying to hurt your feelings. But the accuracy on the stroboscopic tuners is just absolutely off the charts. And once you've actually had a chance to use one, you will understand why I say this. But if you're intonating with your pocket $5, Guitar Center special tuner, you're doing your guitar and your tuning and your band and your friends and your audience a disservice. The one thing you will note about these older style tuners, versus the stuff on modern guitars is the gear ratio is not nearly as steep. The newer tuners are much finer, where you get less, you can turn the peg farther with less reaction from the strings, so these can be a little bit more fiddly. That seems okay, so we'll just proceed to install the other strings and clip some tips. Yippee. Okay, so I put it on the stroboscope and checked the intonation, and we were good. We were very good, actually. Just a little bit. I mean, when I checked it originally, I saw how much it needed to be adjusted. I thought, and I tweaked that a little bit with the Allen key. The truss rod, that little turn was all that it needed because it's ready to sing. This pickup is very, very hot. Try it through the AC-15. Give a little bit more volume. And turn it all the way up for maximum volume. Okay, so I think this is cool. With the pickup at a modest gain, it jangles like a Rickenbacker. Considering there's a Rickenbacker sitting right over there, I definitely know what they sound like. Yeah, this is cool. There we go. It's a 1960 Les Paul Junior in cherry finish, and it just needed a bath and a couple adjustments, and it is ready to play. And I would love to own this in my collection, but the reality is I have to be honest with the owner and tell them what this guitar is worth. And when I do that, I have a feeling I won't be able to afford it anymore. Oh well, guy can dream, right? Playing it, we might become attached. Thanks for watching. Have a great day.